States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I get approval of the agenda.
I'll motion to approve the agenda for February 12th with the addition of Metamora Township Special Board meeting minutes, budget work session on February 6th, 2024. So I'll add that in the consent.
I'm gonna have that in, February.
Oh,
That's when I would have included that.
that's why it's not in it.
Right,
Okay.
it's January. This is January.
Okay, so I'm gonna scratch that.
Okay. Your motion is to.
Okay, to approve the agenda as presented.
Oh, thank you. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye. It's all good.
All right. Consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the regular township board meeting minutes dated January 8th, 2024. To approve, to accept the treasurer's report as presented, to accept the assessor's report for February 2024, to approve January 2024 bills, transfer the funds, and in the general fund, starting with check number 30057 through 30101, which includes the township bills, the township fire and police, township fire and police electronic payrolls, and the building department, which also includes the building bills, the building payroll, and the building monthly remittance checks. Total amount of the township for the fire and police and township and the building payrolls and bills for January 2024 is $189,649.64.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Motion carried. County Commissioner is not here, I guess. Public time.
Susan Hoff, 5047 Blood Road. It's been a busy time of year for appointments and hiring and things. And although I know, I'm sure you're doing it totally legally, I know you can just appoint people. For the sake of transparency and the confidence of the voters, I'd really like to see a little more process for how these things are handled. Arcadia Township has to fill a trustee position. They've had an ad in the paper asking people to apply if they're interested. Our county commission has recognized that officials and members of the public have become frustrated with the lack of a clear protocol for appointing people to the boards and committees, and they have formed a group to look into coming up with a protocol that would provide that transparency to the voters and the residents, and I'd like to ask you folks to consider doing that for the sake of transparency and confidence. Also, we just had a hiring of a new police chief at the last meeting, and I would imagine that Sergeant Davis is going to be an outstanding chief. I'm looking forward to that. But I am concerned, again, about the process that was followed at the last meeting. Dave, you asked everybody on the board that they'd all had a chance to talk to him, and they all agreed that they had a chance to talk to them. And Mr. Fisher, maybe later tonight, will have a chance to address this. Dryden just hired a fire chief, and their attorney, Tim Denny from Pier, was quoted in the paper as saying, "We had to hold our interviews in front of the township board, and they couldn't be delegated to a committee. There's a specific ruling from the Michigan Supreme Court that allows cities to do that. The townships aren't structured that way." There was an issue in Brownstown Township hiring a interim police chief, where individual members of the board talked to people on the department about their interest in the position. And their attorney, Stephen Hitchcock, who is a municipal and city attorney out of the Troy area, sent an email to all members of the board saying that interviews of potential candidates must be done in a public session of the board. Another problem occurred in another Michigan township. Again, all interviews by a public body for employment or appointment to a public office should be held in an open meeting pursuant to the Open Meetings Act. The Open Meetings Act, 267 in 76, section 15, or whatever it is, 268, section 8, under letter F, all interviews by a public body for employment or appointment to a public office must be held in an open meeting pursuant to this act. It does not apply to university presidents, but obviously this isn't a university president. So just from reading those things, it feels like if there was an interview process, the public didn't have an opportunity to see it. And I feel that that may be in conflict with the Open Meetings Act, and maybe later Mr. Fisher will be able to clarify that or conflict. Thank you.
Karen Pacheco, I live in the village of Metamora. I actually have Mary Jo Maxon provided me with her FOIA, and so that I could say whatever I wanted about it. There was no job description, there was no advertisement of the position, there was no follow-up with the other person, the other candidate. Apparently no interviews, no meeting listed where anyone discussed anything. So you guys walked in the last meeting and you just already had your minds over, which concerns me also about the Open Meetings Act. Now, last meeting, Ann said that Davis is highly qualified for the position. So I had heard about, I get the village police reports, and there was a first degree CSC, so commonly called a rape, reported on September 3rd there. Now I had always imagined that a first degree CSC is going to be sent out to county or state to be dealt with because they have teams of people who are trained to deal with that. And so I thought, and when I asked the village about it, this is what they told me. They said, well, there was going to be an officer to talk about it, but he couldn't make it. And this was just, they're not even going to investigate. It was he said, she said. I know several people who've been raped in my life. It was always either he said, he said, or he said, he said. They knew they weren't going to be believed. They didn't report it. And I FOIA'd the training record of the officers here, which is in your packet, which I passed out. Which Sergeant Davis quickly answered, which was great. In the past 25 years, one officer has gotten any kind of training in domestic violence or sexual assault here. Nobody's had time to go. Those are the two most common crimes towards women. One I have personally experienced, and the other one you get calls about all the time. You have lots of domestics on the call log. And so I don't know how you can call someone highly qualified who has no training above the police academy in those topics. Now, Ann also brought up the topic of hiring local, hiring someone from here. You had another candidate who submitted a resume who says he lives here. As I understand it, he lives in Marlette. But here's the thing about getting somebody from the outside, and I watched the Dryden process of them getting their new fire chief. They got someone super highly qualified to do training there because they opened it up and they interviewed folks. Who could you have gotten here, right? But here's the thing I bet you're scared of. If you open it up, you might get someone who looks at these concerts in the park on Thursday night and says, absolutely not, this would not be allowed anywhere else. You could not have this there, that mayhem. You get someone super local, like Woolard is when I was attacked. Woolard is the one who came, didn't follow up, didn't investigate, talked to some friends and decided to dismiss it. Do you know why I wanted him to further investigate when I met him 2 months later? Because I had reviewed the pictures, he didn't even ask me for my pictures. These people who attacked me had a baby carrier on the back of their UTV, facing forward. Do you know how dangerous that is? And Willard said, well, you know, was there a baby in there? Did maybe handed it off? Well, you can pretty much in the digital, it's quite clear that there's a baby leg and arm coming out of there. So yeah, let's keep it local. Let's not open it up. Let's not get someone with more. And you say community policing. I didn't see anything in your resume about ORVs. You're now in charge of an ORV, mental health, all these things that you deal with all the time. Thank you.
Okay, fire department.
Good evening. So the activity report for January 2024, we had a really busy month. We had 42 calls for the month. We had 11 fires, 29 medicals, 2 PIs, and 1 meeting, 1 training, and 1 work detail. In February, picking up where January left off. Busy. Really the only thing that I have for you guys tonight is permission to put on Alex Newton and Sean Duncan. Alex Newton comes Fire 1, Fire 2, highly trained, he's on the pier for many years, got a lot of experience. He's currently working part-time in Grand Blanc. So I'd like to get permission to put him on, and Sean Duncan's new to the area, living out on Thornville Road. He wants to get on and see what it's all about, so with your permission, I would like to put both of them, gentlemen on.
Would Sean go through the training then?
Pardon me?
Will he be trained
Yes.
as he's going, or?
So we typically keep him on for a year before we put him through any school. It isn't made for everybody. So that kind of lets them get in, see what it's about, and lets us feel them out to see if they're gonna be able to, be a fit, if they're gonna be able to do the job. So there's that probationary period, we kind of call it, to feel each other out and see if it's gonna work. But yeah, eventually we go through the school.
I'll make a motion to add Alex Newton and Sean Duncan to our roster.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Thank you. That's all that I have.
Police business.
Good evening. For January 2024, we had 181 calls for service, 39 traffic stops, 11 property damage accidents, 7 regular property damage accidents, 3 personal injury accidents, 3 operating while intoxicated arrests, and 9 vehicle lockouts. Apparently, like accusing your car was a thing this month. A notable incident: we had a fraud counterfeit money complaint at the McDonald's on South Pier Road. A counterfeit fake $100 bills used to pay for food at the restaurant. The store did not realize that it was counterfeit, so after the suspect left the store, suspect information was obtained. The suspect is a male, 25-year-old from Genesee County, and he's not cooperating with the investigation. A warrant request has been forwarded to the Pier County Prosecutor's Office for criminal charges. The only other thing I have is I would like to ask approval for me to attend the March 2024 Police Executive and New Chief School. It's in Okemos, Michigan. It's a training that's put on by the Michigan Association of Chiefs of Police. It's March 18th to the 22nd. It's a highly rated, outstanding program here for new chiefs and command personnel. It's a 5-day session. The cost is $1,295 for tuition and an additional $85 plus tax per night for lodging.
I'll make a motion to, send, our new police chief, for this training session for the cost of $1,295 plus $85 per night.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Thank you.
Ask a question. Sergeant Davis, I paid my taxes this week, and I looked at the number of mills I pay for Metamora Police, and then we passed that law enforcement add-on
Yes.
millage. Would it be possible at a future meeting maybe to explain a little bit how the county and the township forces work, who covers what and things? Because I'm just looking at paying for both of these and wondering, do I want to keep voting for both of them in the future? It would help if I understood how the township and the
We didn't
county
get
work
nothing
together.
out of the pier.
I'm sorry?
We didn't get nothing out of the pier.
No, I know you don't, but we're paying for, and what I'm wondering is, what does Lapeer provide for us? And I thought maybe.
Nothing.
Nothing, okay, so I should remember that next time when I vote.
Yeah,
Okay,
everybody should have known that. We do
Thank
get,
you.
I can put something together for you if you'd like, but I think you kind of have the answer now.
well, it sounds like it. Is that the way you see it too, Sergeant Davis?
Well, at this time, we didn't get a school resource officer here, but obviously we work well with the county. But as far as any additional resources, we don't have any additional.
I'm not gonna see a county sheriff drive down my road, for example. They
I mean,
won't come.
you could,
But
but
not-
generally you have a Metamora Township Police Department member,
But
24
I'm
hours a day, 365
guessing that
days a
they
year.
probably kind of X out Metamora, because they know we have a great department, and so they can spend time elsewhere.
Right, but I mean, if we need assistance, they're here to help as
Right,
well.
if you call them, they'll come.
Absolutely.
Is that it?
That's it.
Township business. The settlement.
Settlement. Yeah. As you all know, that there was a fire. First of all, it's nice to be here
Yeah.
for my annual meeting. And there was a fire at, is it 3767 Lapeer Road, and in what, 2019 or 18, and the building was owned by an individual that was cooperating in terms of demolition and all that sort of thing. And at some point, they agreed that it would have to be taken down and then figure out what to do from there. And that person just quietly sold the property. And the new owner wasn't necessarily cooperative because he had other ideas of what he wanted to do with the land. And then COVID came along, of course. And but a consent arrangement was entered into in 2021. And I think you've got some of the recitations of these basic facts in front of you. And in part, I'm sure because of COVID, and in part because of there just wasn't a cooperative spirit to get this done. It wasn't done, and so Dave asked me to look into it and to see if we could get this building taken care of, and so what we really I thought that it was going to require some new proceedings either at the township here or in the court, and so. And probably the good news was that the owner is represented by an attorney that I've known for years. And so I talked to him, and he's retiring. And this was one of the last few things. He wants to get this off his docket and so forth. And so we started open a negotiation. He was very cooperative. I drafted a document. Pretty much he and I agreed on the document that you have in front of you. But I told him at that point that that I had to present this to the building official because obviously this is more than just a policy for the township board. We're talking about building a structure on the property which has to be built in accordance with codes too. And so the building official had a few changes. Primarily, the most essential change was in on page 3, paragraph 3, where Joe wanted to clarify that the driveway and parking area, and it might be gravel or it might be paved, but that the size of the driveway and parking lot shall meet township standards. That wasn't in there. I mean, there are various things in here that say that it's got to meet all the township codes and all that. But he wanted that specific language in there. So I changed it, sent it to the lawyer. I said, if you have any objection, let me know. I never heard from him. And I sent it to him again. And whether he forgot or whatever happened, he gave his client the copy that you have, which does not have the new language in it, right? And Joe basically issued him an approval of the plans that he filed, and it was really nice that he quickly filed the plans. Joe looked at the plans, approved the plans subject to a few conditions, but his approval was based upon my discussion with him for this new language. And so I told the lawyer, look, I know I have your signature on this, but that's not going to work. We have to have the document that the building official approves and that he used and relied on for issuing the approval for the plans. And so the lawyer was agreeable. He says, I'll try to, this was like last Thursday or Friday, and he said, I'll work on this as quickly as I can and get Bill to sign it. And so, I know this building has been there, this house has been there for a long time, burned out. And so I thought that, and discussed this with Dave today, that we could get him to sign the document, and then I could bring it in March, or you could approve it tonight with the idea that it's gonna be changed with these new provisions. And then we won't waste a whole month, you know, and we can get the guy to I know he's got dumpsters over there already, and we could, you know, get a head start on this a month ahead of time and get it going. So what I'm asking is for you to approve the settlement with the understanding that the language is gonna be added to make it clear that the parking lot and the driveway must meet township ordinance standards. And you know, there are a few other minor things in here, but that's really the essence of it that the board would have any concern about, and certainly the building official had that concern.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay, since it was a house and they rented it out, and now it's going to change into a professional office?
Yes.
Okay, shouldn't they have come to the planning commission for those changes before the attorneys got involved and decided?
Yeah, well,
and building inspectors?
Yeah, the 2021 agreement had that in there already. So the board had already agreed on that part of it. And that's not new. That's not a new provision. That was already there. And I can tell you that the complication with that is that this is a non-conforming lot.
Right.
And if the building comes down, you know, there's a serious question of what could be built there. And when that happens, it's almost a certainty that there's going to be a lawsuit. And so the better part of valor, we thought, was to resolve this and cut through where we would get to anyway at the end of the process, and provide something there that was consistent with the other uses along the way there. I mean, a house doesn't fit there very well, but a small professional office on the same foundation does.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how that,
Okay,
yeah,
all right, thank you.
yep. So,
I could make a motion if, does anybody else have any questions?
That was my question.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve the settlement that includes, the new language, approved by Joe Israel, that includes, parking lot and driveway size that meets the township standards.
great.
I'll support.
Do we need a roll call?
I think so.
Mike,
So, Tracy, I'm gonna ask you one more time, if you can, on your motion. So we're just
Okay, to approve this settlement, that will include the provisions that Joe Israel included about the language that includes parking lot and driveway size to meet the township standards.
So, like under number 3?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Answer for her.
Yes. All right, thank you. Okay, now we'll go to roll call. Derderian?
Yes.
Chouinard?
Yes.
Benscoter?
Yes.
Beth?
Yes.
Clark? Yes.
Thank you. That eyesore needs to go.
Yes, yes, yeah, and I'm so pleased that we cut through a lot of red tape, saved a lot of money. You know, because if we went down to the circuit court, and it would just, who knows how many times we'd be there.
Right.
And then there's a.
Because you've already been there.
Again, yeah.
Yeah, you've already been there, right? So I'm really happy that we were able to get this done. And
Oh,
hopefully
so-
he's gonna come forward with his signature.
I was gonna say,
Except we had Mike, which is the judge now.
I don't think that would work.
he'd have to recuse himself.
Yeah, yeah.
Please.
Okay, the assessment notices for the assessment.
Yeah, so this is a yearly thing. Our assessor sends out assessments to all the property owners for the upcoming 2024 tax season. It's their assessments on their property, so he has accompanied by KCI that will be doing the mailings. So this quote in front of you is for the cost of $1,501.28. They usually ask to pay just the postage up front, and then they'll recoup the rest of it after. I guess it depends on how his upload and how many they actually have, but this is a estimate quote, I guess. So.
I make motion for the, assessment notice to be sent by KCI. Total estimated project cost, $1,501.28.
I'll support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Motion.
Supervisor?
Yeah, I don't really have none.
I got, just to let you guys know, I applied for a grant back in, last year sometime for a tire grant that is put on, that the state pays for through Eagle. We have our cleanup day, and this year is May 11th. We got approved along with other communities here in Lapeer. So we're gonna have a semi-truck trailer delivered here. It will hold up to 1,100 tires. So we usually try to have, we used to have a limit of 4 because we had to pay for each of those tires to get rid of, and now we'll be able to go past that.
Yeah, it's a
And we
good
won't,
deal.
so.
Good
Wow, that's
choice.
good.
Yeah, so, some bring, big tractor tires that they're not able to get rid of, and, rims or no rims. So, yeah, that will be delivered, the Friday before, from a place, environmental rubber recycling out of Flint, so. real
What's
nice
the date
people
again,
work.
is it May?
May 11th.
May 11th.
Yeah, our weekly update, so, that was,
Saturday?